Hello, I am Robbie Sylvia, and I am here today to present our Expo Project. Now, before I start, let me recognize my fellow contributors and group mates who were Thomas Devan, Aaron Drum, Jeffrey Kobal, Theo Bakshi, and Avery Chan. So, when presented with this project, and we actually originally did it for Mr. Barlin's English project, it was called the Action Project and is a very similar idea. However, it translates very well into the Expo Project. So when we first had this idea of kind of creating something for the community or for the world to better it, we thought kind of unoriginally towards climate change. But since climate change is so often discussed and so widely known, it's difficult to come up with something that hasn't already been done, and it's something that's useful. So, in order to do this, we basically decided that rather than trying to create something universal or, like, let's say, a website that everyone should use, when there are clearly very good alternatives that we can't match with our limited resources and limited knowledge and whatnot, instead, we decided to create a website specifically tailored to the Piedmont community. Because that way we can kind of measure our progress fighting climate change within our community specifically. So, to address our essential question, which is when an idea has been calcified into a society, how do we begin to see it again, address it, and change it for the better? I believe that there are two sides of this. On the one hand, we have the kind of the problem that is calcified into society, which is that we're very reliant on fossil fuels. We live very consumerist lives, especially as Americans, and as well, Piedmont is an affluent area, as is California, and thus, individually, on a per capita basis, Piedmont residents or our community is more responsible than most. So that's the first side of it. That the problem itself is kind of deeply woven into our society. However, the other aspect, which I kind of briefly mentioned, is that it's already constantly discussed, at least in the last few years, during at least my education and the last 10ish years. It's an often discussed issue. All students at Piedmont High School, they know it's an issue. We know the problem. We know the solutions, and yet it persists. So not only do we have to address this issue of calcification of the issue, but we also have to address the problem that it's not a problem necessarily. It's a very, very good thing that we all know about it. However, in order to do something useful, we must go beyond that and also make sure that people are not like bored by the issue. Because of course, if you've seen the issue discussed it countless times, eventually you see it and you're just thinking, oh no, more about climate change. Even if you do like to help, even if you're a proud supporter of climate change prevention. So we wanted to create something a little more interesting. So you can see here, this is our website, and I'll show you the URL. One second. Yep, here's the URL, Climate Change Piedmont. So that's our name because we're specifically tailored towards Piedmont. So this is our About Us. Our goal is action, which is as that's really the problem, is that we have a lot of knowledge as a community, but we really need to act against climate change. And then here we have our information page, which basically it's just like a giving general information and specific data that proves that climate change is indeed an issue, because of course some do indeed doubt this issue at all, despite what I've said about our community. And we've also discussed like why you should care that it's an issue and of course what you can do about it, because that's really the important thing. As we've said earlier, our goal is action, not merely knowing or talking about it. So please visit our website to further investigate. And also keep in mind with our website that it's a work in progress. So although many aspects of it may be finished and fleshed out, we intend to add much more, and that anything is subject to change. So keep that in mind. And here is our calculator. And to be more specific, it's our carbon footprint calculator. So we're borrowing from the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And basically, our goal with this is not just to provide a resource where people can see their calculator, their carbon footprint, but also to kind of create a database or a set of data that is specifically targeted towards Piedmont. So as you can see here, we have a spreadsheet, and the goal is that we'll be able to create community-based statistics, because it's easy to get lost in the hugeness, how corporations and countries, they're responsible. However, by focusing on specifically our community, we can actually create actual change rather than merely thinking about it. And here's our form, which is still has ways to go, but we want to be able to discuss climate change in the community so people can perhaps ask questions about it, what they can do, or even can share their triumphs. If you've made a very successful turnaround of some aspect of your life, perhaps you've stopped using a car completely and relied on walking and transportation, or you've given up red meat, something like that. Feel free to share on our forum. And finally, we have our contact page. This is where you can contact us directly as like the site managers if you have any problems, any questions about the issue, anything. So that's basically our Expo project. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day, and feel free to visit our website. It'll be linked. Thank you so much.